World of Warcraft has 26 playable races, dozens of major non-playable civilizations, and a mythology spanning 25,000 years of cosmic warfare. But not every race matters equally. Some shaped the entire franchise from its 1994 origins, drove multiple expansions, and produced characters so iconic they define what Warcraft even is. Others are narrative afterthoughts with interesting aesthetics but zero impact on the actual story. Every race in this ranking gets measured by the same brutal standards: historical impact, character density, expansion centrality, cosmic significance, and cultural depth. Humans, orcs, and night elves sit at the top because they excel at everything. Dragons and old gods outrank half the playable races because their cosmic importance dwarfs surface-level politics. That's why today, I'm ranking every single race in World of Warcraft by lore significance, and explaining exactly why each one matters or doesn't matter to the franchise's soul. Starting with the race that literally created the genre, humans. Humans are the undisputed anchor of the entire Warcraft universe. The franchise literally began as Warcraft, Orcs, and Humans in 1994, establishing humanity's 7 kingdoms as the Alliance's foundation. Every single major Alliance storyline traces back to one of these kingdoms. Humans aren't native to Azeroth. They're descended from the Vrykul, iron-skinned giants created by Titans. When Yogg-Saron's curse of flesh softened the Vrykul's metallic bodies, their children appeared small and fleshy. King Emiron ordered these infants killed. Some Vrykul parents secretly spared them and sent them south. Those refugees became the first humans approximately 15,000 years ago. Human characters dominate WoW's narrative. Arthas Menethil consistently ranks as the most iconic character in Warcraft history. His transformation from Paladin Prince to the Lich King defines the franchise's greatest storyline. Jaina Proudmoore evolved from idealistic peacemaker to vengeful archmage. After Theramore's destruction, Medivh opened the Dark Portal while possessed by Sargeras, beginning the entire Warcraft conflict. Anduin Wrynn leads the Alliance through the War Within. Uther founded the Knights of the Silver Hand. The humans participated in literally every major conflict, both First and Second Wars. The Third War's defense of Lord Aeron, every subsequent expansion. The fall of Lord Aeron and its transformation into the Undercity represents one of WoW's most emotionally resonant narrative arcs. Humans rank number 1 because they're the foundation everything else builds on. You cannot tell Warcraft's story without them. At least humans have internal consistency, unlike the race that reinvents its honor code every expansion. Orcs. The Orcish Horde doesn't just drive Warcraft's narrative, it literally is the narrative. Every major storyline about corruption, redemption, honor versus savagery traces directly back to Orcish history. On Draenor, orcs were peaceful shamanistic clans living in harmony with the elements. Then Kil'jaeden manipulated the warlock Gul'dan into spreading demon blood among the clans. When Manaroth's blood touched Orcish lips, it turned their brown skin fell green, enslaved them to the Burning Legion, and transformed peaceful hunters into a genocidal war machine. But Orcs' origins go deeper. When Titan Agramar arrived on Draenor, he created Grahn to fight the Evergrowth. Grahn's fragments became Colossals, which degraded into Magnaron, then Grahn, then Ogron, then Ogres, then Orcs. Each generation grew smaller but more intelligent. The character roster is where Orcs dominate. Thrall embodies the entire redemption arc. Raised as a gladiator slave, he freed his people, founded the new Horde, became World Shaman, and wielded the Dragon Soul to kill Deathwing. Grom Hellscream was the first to drink demon blood, yet redeemed himself by slaying Manaroth. His son Garrosh reversed that arc, becoming Mists of Pandaria's villain. Varrock Saurfang's honor-driven rebellion against Sylvanas defined battle for Azeroth's emotional core. Orcs drove entire expansions. Warlords of Draenor explored alternate timeline clans, showing what uncorrupted martial Orcish society looks like. Orcs rank number 2 because their corruption and redemption arc is the franchise's defining storyline. At least Orcs chose their corruption, unlike the race that accidentally created every problem in Azeroth's history. Night Elves. Night Elves possess the deepest historical footprint of any mortal race. We're talking 10,000 years of recorded history compared to human kingdoms roughly 2,800. But here's what most people get wrong. They're not some ancient pure race. There evolved trolls. Approximately 15,000 years ago, dark trolls settled near the Well of Eternity. Constant exposure to its energy transformed them. Their gray skin turned purple, their features refined. They became the Kaldori, the first night elves. This explains why trolls view night elves with such contempt. The Highborn caste, led by Queen Azshara, recklessly channeled the well's power, attracting Sargeras's attention and causing the War of the Ancients. When the portal collapsed, the well imploded. The resulting sundering shattered Kalimdor, killed millions, and created the Maelstrom. This represents Azeroth's most catastrophic moment. Character significance is exceptional. Illidan Stormrage ranks as WoW's second most iconic character. His 10,000-year imprisonment, demon hunter transformation, and eventual redemption against the Legion defines complex anti-heroism. Malfurion founded Druidism itself. Tyrande led the Sentinels for 10,000 years and became the Night Warrior after Teldrassil's burning. Multiple playable variants exist. Nightborn became allied races in 7.3.5. The upcoming Haranir represent Proto-Night Elves. Night Elves rank number 3 because their decisions shaped Azeroth's geography, created multiple races through transformation, and their characters drive storylines spanning 15,000 years. At least Night Elves had ignorance as excuse, unlike the Cosmic Guardians who knew exactly what they were doing. Dragons and dragonflights. Dragons aren't just powerful creatures. They're literally cosmic guardians empowered by titans to protect Azeroth's world soul. Every single major catastrophe connects to a dragon either causing it, failing to prevent it, or sacrificing everything to fix it. The 5 dragonflights were created when Titan Keepers empowered proto-dragons. Alexstrasza became the Lifebinder. Ysera received dominion over the Emerald Dream. Nosdormu gained power over time. Malygos became Guardian of Magic. Neltharion, the Earth Warder, received power over Azeroth's deep places. Then Neltharion was corrupted by old gods. During the War of the Ancients, he created the Dragon Soul containing every aspect's power except his own. He told them it would fight the Legion. They trusted him. Then Deathwing turned it against them, slaughtering dragons by the hundreds. Deathwing's emergence from Deepholm literally tore Azeroth apart. The Cataclysm expansion's entire premise was this insane dragon-reshaped continents. The dragon aspects sacrificed their immortality and titan powers to destroy him. Character significance is exceptional. Alexstrasza's enslavement by the Dragon Maw, Ysera's tragic corruption and death, Nosdormu's future transformation into timeline-destroying Murozond. Wrathion emerged as the one uncorrupted black dragon. Dragonflight represented the first expansion entirely centered on draconic civilization. The aspects regained their powers through Amirdrassil, fundamentally changing their relationship with Azeroth's world soul. Dragons rank number 4 because their existence shapes Azeroth's fundamental structure. When a dragon makes a mistake, millions die. At least dragons were created to protect Azeroth, unlike the entities designed to corrupt and destroy everything, old gods and their servants. The old gods represent Warcraft's ultimate cosmic horror. Their cancerous infections sent by Void Lords to corrupt Azeroth's world soul. 4 old gods crashed into primordial Azeroth and established the Black Empire. Y'Sharj was the most powerful. When Aman'Thul tore it from Azeroth, the death created the Well of Eternity and spawned the Shah. Sithun, imprisoned beneath Ankiraj, created the Kiraji. Yogg-Saron created the Curse of Flesh by corrupting Ulduar's Forge of Wills, transforming Titan constructs into mortal races. N'Zoth transformed Queen Azshara into Naga, corrupted Deathwing, and created the Emerald Nightmare. Without Yogg-Saron's corruption, playable races wouldn't exist. The Curse of Flesh transformed Earthen into dwarves, Make-Hagnomes into gnomes, Iron Vrikul into humans. Their servants define old god influence. The Enraki, Sithraxi generals, and Akir split into Kiraji, Nerubians, and Mantid. Multiple expansions climaxed with old god confrontations. Classics on Kuraj, Wrath's Ulduar, Battle for Azeroth's Ni-Alotha. The War Within's antagonist Xal'atath may be a 5th old god. Old gods rank number 5 because their influence pervades literally every aspect of Azeroth's history. The mortal races exist because of them. The entire geography changed because Y'Shar's death created the Well. At least old gods were honest about wanting destruction, unlike the faction that claims to fight for life but keeps making catastrophic decisions. Undead, Forsaken, and the Scourge. The undead occupy the most tragic position in Warcraft lore. Every Forsaken was once a person with a family. Then Arthas killed them, raised them as mindless zombies, and forced them to slaughter their loved ones while trapped inside their own corpses. The Scourge was created by the Burning Legion as invasion force. Kil'jaeden imprisoned Ner'zhul's spirit in the Helm of Domination and threw it into Northrend. The Lich King began raising the dead. The plague of undeath spread through Lord Aeron exponentially. Arthas's fall happened because he was trying to stop this plague. He purged Stratholme, claimed Frostmourne, and murdered his father. Then Frostmourne consumed his soul, and Ner'zhul merged with Arthas. When Illidan weakened the Lich King, some undead broke free. Sylvanas Windrunner led these Forsaken. They weren't heroes seeking redemption. They were vengeful corpses who hated the Scourge and the living. Sylvanas's character arc drives multiple expansions. Her transformation from sympathetic leader to war chief, burning Teldrassil, allying with the Jailer, and splitting the Helm of Domination shaped Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands entirely. Bolvar Fordragon became the second Lich King after Arthas's defeat, serving as quote 1 until Sylvanas broke the helm. Undead rank number 6 because their existence represents permanent consequence. When Lord Aeron fell, it didn't get rebuilt. The Forsaken's entire civilization is built on loss. At least the Forsaken choose their allegiances now, unlike elves who keep getting corrupted by magic addiction. Blood Elves and High Elves. Blood Elves and High Elves represent the same race split by tragedy and philosophy. After the War of the Ancients, exiled Highborn sailed east and created the Sunwell using Well of Eternity water. Over 7,000 years, they became the High Elves, biologically addicted to the Sunwell's power. The Third War devastated Quel'Thalas. Arthas invaded to resurrect Kel'Thuzad, killing 90% of the High Elf population. Prince Kael'thas destroyed the corrupted Sunwell and renamed survivors Sindore, Blood Elves, to honor the fallen. Without the Sunwell, Blood Elves experienced agonizing withdrawal. They learned to siphon magic from any source, including captured demons. This monotapping turned their eyes fell green and marked them as addicts. The remaining High Elves refused these methods, maintaining blue-eyed purity through sheer willpower. Kael'thas allied with Illidan, then betrayed him for the Legion. The Sunwell's restoration using Narumuru's heart, radiating both arcane and holy energy, finally ended their addiction crisis. The three Windrunner sisters define their significance. Sylvanas became Forsaken leader. Illyria mastered Void powers and leads Void Elves. Verisa leads High Elves loyal to the Alliance. Void Elves emerged when exiled magisters studying void magic were saved by Illyria, becoming an allied race in 7.3.5. Blood Elves rank number 7 because their post-Sunwell storyline explores addiction and desperation with genuine nuance. They're not just quote 2, they're a civilization that nearly died and made morally questionable choices to survive. At least Blood Elves built civilization through intelligence, unlike the race that just existed everywhere forever. Trolls. Trolls are Azeroth's most historically significant native race. Before Titans, before Night Elves, before any organized society existed, trolls controlled the entire world. The Zandalari Empire stood for over 16,000 years. Unlike Titan-forged races, trolls evolved naturally. The Zandalari represent the first tribe. From them, others diverged. Gurubashi, Amani, Drakari, Faraki. The troll empires fought the only successful war against the Akir, splitting them into Shiraji, Nerubians, and Mantid. But here's the critical detail. Night Elves evolved from trolls. Dark trolls settled near the Well of Eternity 15,000 years ago. The well's energies transformed them into Night Elves over millennia. This means trolls are ancestral to every elven race. Character significance spans multiple expansions. Vol'jin became war chief after Garrosh's defeat and named Sylvanas his successor, driving battle for Azeroth. Zul'jin led eternal war against High Elves. Rastakhan's death defending Dazar Alor represents one of Battle for Azeroth's most impactful moments. Zandalari trolls became an allied race in 8.1.5, featuring upright posture, dinosaur druid forms, and access to paladin class through prelates of Razan. Trolls rank number 8 because they're Azeroth's indigenous superpower, whose decline created the power vacuum every other civilization filled. They're ancestors to the planet's most influential magical race. At least trolls evolved naturally. Unlike Legion-created demons who spent 25,000 years trying to destroy everything, Burning Legend Demons, and Eridar. The Burning Legion served as Warcraft's primary antagonist for over 20 years. 3 invasions spanning 10,000 plus years. They existed to annihilate all life to prevent Void Lords from corrupting world souls. The Eridar defined the Legion's leadership. On Argus 25,000 years ago, Archimonde and Kil'jaeden accepted Sargeras' offer of power, becoming demons. Velen refused, fleeing with followers who became Draenei. This split created one of WoW's most tragic dynamics. Kil'jaeden spent 25,000 years hunting Velen. Archimonde led invasions during the War of the Ancients and Third War, dying at Mount Hyjal when Night Elves sacrificed their immortality. Kil'jaeden orchestrated Orcish corruption through Gul'dan and created the Lich King. Both served as raid bosses multiple times. Their final defeats in Legion marked the end of the Burning Legion threat after 10,000 years. The Legion's 3 invasions structured Warcraft's entire timeline. Their defeat required literal divine intervention and Illidan's sacrifice as eternal jailer. The Legion ranks number 9 because they defined what ultimate threat means in Warcraft. Every expansion before Legion built toward their inevitable return. At least the Legion had a reason for destruction, unlike Titans who shaped the world through good intentions and still created most problems. Titans and Titan Keepers. The Titans represent Warcraft's god-tier creators whose good intentions paved Azeroth's road to apocalypse. They shaped the planet, created most mortal races through their constructs, imprisoned old gods, then left maintenance to fallible servants. The Pantheon consisted of 7 Titans: Aman'Thul, Eonar, Norgannon, Khaz'goroth, Golganath, Agramar, and Sargeras before his fall. When they discovered Azeroth infested by old gods, Aman'Thul tore Y'Sharj from the surface. The wound nearly killed the World Soul, teaching them to imprison the remaining 3 instead. The Keepers created the Titan-forged races. Earthen became dwarves. Mechagnomes became gnomes. Vrykul became humans through the curse of flesh. Yogg-Saron corrupted the Forge of Wills, spreading this transformation like a virus. Tyr sacrificed himself fighting Sithraxi, his death site becoming Tirisful Glades. Odin's arrogance endangered the world multiple times. Raden became Lei Shen's victim, the Thunder King stealing his powers. The upcoming The Last Titan expansion promises to explore Titan's secrets and their potentially non-benevolent intentions for Azeroth. Titans rank number 10 because they created the world players adventure in, then abandoned it to deal with consequences they couldn't anticipate. At least Titans tried protecting Azeroth. Unlike Draenei, who spent 25,000 years running away. The Draenei spent 25,000 years fleeing across the cosmos from the Burning Legion. Every world they settled was subsequently destroyed by demons hunting them. On Argus 25,000 years ago, when Sargeras offered power, Velen refused and fled with followers aboard the Naaru vessel Genedar. They became Draenei, exiled ones. For 25,000 years, they'd settle on a world, live peacefully for centuries. Then Kil'jaeden would find them, and the Legion would invade. They finally settled on Draenor, living peacefully alongside orcs until Kil'jaeden corrupted the orcs to exterminate them. The resulting genocide nearly succeeded. Many survivors became the Broken Through Fell mutation. The Draenei who escaped aboard the Exodar crash landed on Azeroth. Velen ranks among WoW's oldest living characters. His 25,000 years of prophetic visions and wisdom guide major storylines. The Lightforged Draenei, those who joined the Army of the Light, became an allied race in 7.3.5. Their connection to the Naaru and understanding of Legion tactics makes them narratively crucial despite relatively few individual characters of Arthas or Thrall's caliber. Draenei rank number 11 because their 25,000-year flight shapes their entire worldview, and their presence on Azeroth represents the first time they've stopped running. At least Draenei had excuse of being hunted, unlike dwarves who just forgot their origins. Dwarves bridge Titan origins and mortal civilization more directly than any race except gnomes. As earthen affected by the curse of flesh, they spent thousands of years not knowing they were transformed Titan constructs. The discovery at Uldaman shattered dwarven cultural identity. The 3 major clans define their politics. Bronzebeard represents traditional Ironforge rule. Wildhammer are shamanistic Griffin riders. Dark Iron served Ragnaros until freed during Molten Core raid. The Council of 3 Hammers formed during Cataclysm when Magni transformed into Daimon. Magni became the Speaker, Azeroth's World Soul's direct communication conduit. His diamond form positions him at the center of the World Soul Saga. Bran Bronzebeard explores literally everywhere, his journals appearing across every expansion. Dark Iron Dwarves became an allied race in 8.0. The Earthen discovered in The War Within represent uncorrupted stone dwarves, creating existential crisis for modern dwarves about what they were meant to be. Dwarves rank number 12 because they're the franchise's primary historical investigators whose discoveries advance player understanding of cosmic lore. They're not just warriors, they're the race asking, why does Azeroth work this way? And finding answers. At least dwarves actively tried learning history. Unlike Naga, who spent 10,000 years serving an old god, Naga. The Naga represents one of Warcraft's most catastrophic transformations. They were Queen Azshara's highborn, who drowned during the Sundering, and Zoth offered salvation in exchange for eternal servitude. The transformation turned them into serpentine monsters with the same arrogance but now backed by 10,000 years of old god corruption. Queen Azshara ranks among WoW's most powerful beings. Before the Sundering, only Archimonde and Sargeras exceeded her magical ability. She believed she was manipulating Zoth while he was corrupting her, each thinking they controlled the relationship. For 10,000 years, Azshara built Nazjatar beneath the ocean, an empire rivaling any surface civilization. Lady Vashj served Illidan throughout Burning Crusade, representing Naga as reluctant allies. Nazjatar's reveal in Battle for Azeroth and the Eternal Palace raid confronted Azshara directly. She toyed with players, clearly capable of killing them but choosing humiliation. When defeated, she laughed and fled, revealing the fight was about freeing N'Zoth, not killing her. Azshara survived N'Zoth's defeat. Her current whereabouts remain unknown, positioning her as long-term threat. Naga rank number 13 because Queen Azshara is among WoW's most powerful living characters, and players have never truly beaten her, only survived encounters she allowed them to win. At least Naga chose transformation to survive. Unlike Tauren, who just happened to be there when Thrall needed allies. The Tauren bring spiritual depth and noble tragedy to the Horde. They're descendants of the Yongol, who roamed ancient Kalimdor. They learned Druidism directly from Cenarius before Night Elves existed. Their Earth Mother tradition predates nearly every organized religion. The Sundering devastated Tauren civilization, scattering tribes for 10,000 years. Cairn Bloodhoof united them, and allied with Thrall's orcs, founding Thunderbluff. His death at Garrosh's hands through Magatha's poison remains one of WoW's most impactful character deaths. Bane inherited leadership and represents Tauren moral authority. His friendship with Anduin bridges faction divides. Hamul Rune Totem brought Druidism back to Tauren after 10,000 years. The Sunwalkers became paladins through sun worship rather than light faith. High Mountain Tauren became an allied race in 7.3.5, featuring moose antlers and dinosaur druid forms. Tauren rank number 14 because they provide spiritual legitimacy to a horde often portrayed as aggressive and destructive. They prove the horde includes genuinely noble cultures. At least Tauren maintain consistent values. Unlike gnomes who lost their capital to an invasion they caused. Gnomes possess rich Titan-forged origins, but Blizzard treats them as comic relief, whose greatest tragedy gets played for laughs. The Mechagnomes created by Mimiron chose to stay awake watching over hibernating Earthen despite knowing the curse of flesh would transform them. The fall of Gnome Regan represents untold tragedy. High Tinker Mechatorque approved flooding lower levels with radiation to kill Trogg invaders. Thermoplug sabotaged the plan, opening vents throughout the entire city, killing 80% of the gnomish population. Survivors fled to Ironforge as refugees. Operation Gnome Regan during Cataclysm retook surface levels, but the depths remained contaminated. Mechatorka fell into stasis during Battle for Azeroth after confronting Thermoplug. Mechagnomes. Gnomes who voluntarily replaced flesh with mechanical parts became an allied race in 8.3, representing those who chose to reverse the curse of flesh. Gnomish engineering rivals any race's technology. They invented siege tanks, flying machines, and portal networks the Alliance depends on. Gnomes rank number 15 not because their lore is weak, but because Blizzard refuses to use it effectively. They have tragic loss, genius intellect, and philosophical questions about their origins but lack screen time. At least gnomes have consistent characterization, unlike Nerubians who went from scourge victims to void servants. Nerubians. The Nerubians descended from Akir but rejected old god worship, building Azjol-Nerub as independent spider kingdom. The War of the Spider showcased their military superiority until Ner'zhul began raising dead Nerubians, turning their strength against them. Anubarak. once king, became the Lich King's champion. His death in trial of the Crusader represented Nerubian royal line's permanent end. The War Within elevates Nerubians from scourge monsters to complex civilization. Queen Ansurek allied with Xal'atath, accepting void corruption to protect her people. The Ascended Nerubians serve as the expansion's primary antagonists. Widow Arachne represents resistance to this alliance. Their black blood collection for Xal'atath connects them to the World Soul Saga's cosmic narrative. Nerubians rank number 16 because the War Within showed them as civilization facing impossible choices rather than simple monsters. At least Nerubians have near extinction excuse. Unlike Worgen, who got cursed by their own druids. The Worgen curse came from night elf druids of the pack who followed Goldrin's rage. Belisra's Scythe of Elune created the first Worgen instead of balancing the Fury. Malfurion banished them to the Emerald Dream for 10,000 years. Archmage Aragal released them to fight the Scourge. The curse spread to Gilneas, transforming King Greymane and his people. The Cataclysm flooded their kingdom while Forsaken invaded. Prince Liam died, saving his father. Night Elves provided the ritual of balance, allowing Worgen to control transformations and maintain minds in beast form. But the rage always lurks beneath. Gen Greymane's vendetta against Sylvanas drives storylines across Legion and Battle for Azeroth. His relationship with Anduin provides character growth for both. Worgen rank number 17 because their curse creates internal conflict that should drive better storylines. They're refugees, cursed people managing transformation, victims of druidic hubris from 10,000 years ago. At least Worgen got cursed from recognizable sources. Unlike Vrykul, whose history involves titans abandoning them. The Vrykul are humanity's direct ancestors, iron-skinned giants created by titans. The curse of flesh transformed them, and their children appeared small and fleshy. King Emiron ordered all malformed infants killed. Some parents secretly spared them. These refugees became the first humans 15,000 years ago. Vrykul culture is Norse-inspired. Their warrior tradition emphasizes dying honorably to be chosen by Valkyr for eternal combat in halls of valor. Odin created Valkyr by forcibly transforming Helya, which corrupted her into Helheim's ruler. Emiron allied with the Lich King, believing undeath would reverse the curse. His entire kingdom underwent transformation. Players confronted him in Utgard Pinnacle. Legion's Stormheim showed living Vrykul culture continuing. Their trials of strength and obsession with dying gloriously represent religious practices, where afterlife reward requires proving worth. Vrykul rank number 18 because they're humanity's direct ancestors, whose warrior culture shaped human civilization's values. They're the original template that degraded into the franchise's most prominent race. At least Vrykul had warrior culture, unlike Pandaren, who showed up with Kung Fu Pandas. Pandaren brought WoW's first neutral playable race. Their origins predate Night Elf civilization, possibly connecting to Bear Ancients. They established an empire in central Kalimdor before withdrawing from Night Elf contact. The Mogu enslaved Pandaren for thousands of years. Emperor Xiaohao led the revolution that toppled the Mogu Empire through martial arts, proving technique defeats brute force. When the Sundering approached, Xiaohao separated Pandaria using magical mists, isolating it for 10,000 years. The Wandering Isle explains playable Pandaren outside Pandaria. They left before the mist sealed the continent, settling on Shenzin-Su, a giant turtle. Mists of Pandaria explored Pandaren philosophy through the Shah, manifestations of negative emotions from Yasharja's death. Pandaren culture developed around controlling emotions to starve the Shah. Alliance and Horde arrival shattered this balance. Chen Stormstout, Taranju, and Lorewalker Cho represent different aspects of Pandaren culture. The August Celestials guide their spirituality. Pandaren rank number 19 because they challenged Warcraft's assumptions about warfare and strength-based problem-solving. Their philosophy offers alternatives to endless faction conflict. At least Pandaren brought new philosophy, unlike Nightborn, who are just purple night elves who chose differently. Nightborn. The Nightborn are Suramar Highborn, who isolated themselves behind a shield during the Sundering. For 10,000 years, the Nightwell sustained them, but they became biologically dependent on its magic. Without Arcandor, Nightborn become withered. Legion's Suramar campaign explored their aristocratic society, where Nightwell access controlled through rationing created absolute obedience. Grand Magistrix Elisanda allied with the Legion, believing servitude preferable to extinction after seeing futures where resistance meant destruction. First Arcanist Thalisra led the Nightfallen resistance. The Nighthold raid confronted Elisanda, whose precognitive abilities made her tragic rather than villainous. The Archondor freed Nightborn from dependency. They chose to join the Horde rather than reunite with Night Elves because Tyrande treated them with disdain while Blood Elves understood magical addiction. Nightborn became an allied race in 7.3.5, representing Legion's strongest narrative achievement in creating fully realized culture. Nightborn ranked number 20 because their Suramar storyline demonstrated how effective WoW storytelling can be when properly resourced. At least Nightborn had 10,000 years explaining differences, unlike Zandalari, who claimed superiority but lost to farmers. Zandalari trolls. The Zandalari represent Trollkind's original tribe from which all others originated. Their empire stood for over 16,000 years from Zuldazar, serving as lorekeepers and judges for all troll affairs. Loa worship reaches its apex in Zandalari culture. Rezan blessed their kings until his death during battle for Azeroth. King Rastakhan ruled for over 200 years. His death-defending Dazar Alor during Alliance assault represents battle for Azeroth's most impactful moment. Alliance murdered the ancient king in his throne room, guaranteeing Zandalari would join the Horde from blood debt. Prophet Zul's alliance with Gahun showed how desperation corrupts even proud traditions. Zandalari became an allied race in 8.1.5, featuring upright posture, golden skin, paladin access through prelates, and dinosaur druid forms. Zandalari rank 21st because they elevate troll lore from quote 9 to quote 10, bringing genuine prestige to the Horde. At least Zandalari maintained civilization, unlike Drakthir, who were literally created as weapons. Drakthir. The Drakthir were created by Neltharion 20,000 years ago, combining essence from all 5 dragonflights with mortal adaptability. He sealed them in stasis because they demonstrated too much independence. They awakened in Dragonflight with no context for the modern world. Scale Commander Emberthal emerged as their leader. The revelation that Neltharion became Deathwing shattered their identity. Sarkareth's fall to void corruption provided Aberrus Raid's climax. The Evoker class channels draconic magic through all 5 flights. Patch 11.0.5 expanded Drakthir beyond Evoker, adding warriors, mages, priests, rogues, warlocks, and hunters. Drakthir rank 22nd because they're too new to have earned higher placement. They're 20,000-year-old newborns with combat training but no cultural foundation. At least Drakthir were created with purpose, unlike Earthen, who are just stone dwarves. Earthen. The Earthen of Khaz Algar are Titan-forged dwarves who never experienced the curse of flesh. Thousands of years of isolation created philosophical divisions. Oathsworn maintained Titan loyalty. Unbound departed from strict protocols. Machine speakers focus on practical maintenance. They became WOW's first truly neutral allied race. Their racial ability, Azerite Surge, represents the first empowered racial outside evokers. Meeting uncorrupted Earthen creates existential crisis for modern dwarves. The Earthen's cold logical perfection contrasts with dwarven warmth and emotion. Earthen rank 23rd because they're too new and too limited. Their significance is potential rather than proven. Their maintenance constructs developing personhood but lack civilization. At least Earthen have Titan purpose. Unlike Void Elves, who are just Blood Elves who studied Void magic. Void Elves. Void Elves are Blood Elves who studied Void magic, got exiled from Silvermoon, nearly got consumed by Void energies, and were saved by Illyria Windrunner. They joined the Alliance as allied race despite being genetically identical to Blood Elves and numbering maybe a few dozen. Magister Umbric's group lost control of Void research. Illyria taught them her control techniques. The transformation gave them purple skin and Void-touched eyes. Illyria's presence elevates them. Her mastery of Void powers makes her crucial to fighting Xal'atath in Midnight. They represent elves who voluntarily embraced Void power, proving cosmic forces can be harnessed without necessarily leading to corruption. Void elves rank 24th because they're the most transparently game design-driven race, created to give Alliance elf options. Their lore is serviceable, but they lack historical depth. At least Void elves have Illyria, unlike goblins, who are just goblins. Goblins round out this ranking at 25th. Their entire cultural identity revolves around profits, explosions, and morally flexible business practices. Goblin origins begin with Zandalari enslavement mining Kajamite Ore. Exposure dramatically increased their intelligence. When deposits ran dry, the intelligence remained. They established society based on profit above all else. Trade Prince Gallywix embodied goblin greed's worst aspects, enslaving his people through debt. His replacement by Gazlo represented shift towards slightly less sociopathic leadership. The Cataclysm starting experience showcases goblin ingenuity and recklessness. Their technology prioritizes results over safety. Their cities are industrial nightmares. They run most auction houses, operate neutral ports, and maintain trade networks both factions depend on. That practical importance exceeds their narrative significance. Goblins rank 25th, not because they're badly designed, but because Blizzard keeps them shallow for comic relief. They're essential for game function, but absent from actual story. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.